Hello and welcome to Joyride with your hosts, the Metaphysical Moms, Tiffany and Carrie. Joyride takes you on a spin through all things spiritual and soulful, including holistic healing, energy work, and personal development. Now, here are your hosts, Tiffany and Carrie.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Joyride Show.
Hi, welcome. This is Tiffany.
And I'm Carrie.
And we're the Metaphysical Moms, and you've reached us at Joyride Show, and we're so happy you're here with us for taking a spin around the spiritual block.
Yes. And we have quite a show for you today. At least we think so. We've loved researching this topic, and I'll let you dive in.
So we started talking about spiritual laws, metaphysical laws. We know about laws that govern the physical world, the world of matter and science, the world of matter and energy, and how that there are some and we keep discovering new ways to look at things. But once you understand how something works, you can then create tools that utilize it to our benefit, and you're not just feeling like a victim of it, but you're actually putting these laws to work for you. And we all know about the law of attraction.
That's
right?
a big one. Mm-hmm. Well, it's instant. I mean, not instant, but that's one that we can all see because I want love, or I want a car, or I want a job.
Yeah,
or a state of being.
But that's just one principle that governs this energetic world that we live in. We live in a dimension of space, time, matter, and energy. And once you start to understand these laws and principles that govern it, it's actually really, really empowering. So we've learned a lot, and we're just going to touch on a few of them today because there's quite a lot of material here. But we thought it would be really helpful for you guys to maybe hear it in a different way or kind of even review it. I'm sure most of you already know this stuff, but to review it and how do you apply it to where you are today in the here and the now.
Well, and I want to start with this. To heal the world, we must first heal ourselves.
Yes.
So
that's a big concept.
Well, it really is. Tiff and I were talking about, we've started watching Jack Ryan, and it's such a good show, and it shows all these different characters from all these different angles, and we are sort of programmed that group is bad and this group is good, and what they show is that usually people are not inherently bad. Like, people come due to their things that have happened in their lives, they can sort of reach this point. And so if you just peer into that one space in time, it's like, oh, he did some bad things. Well, look at all the stuff that led up to this. And so that's what I was thinking, actually, while we were writing this stuff out. I thought, if that person was healed, he would not most likely go to this
extreme place.
Right, this place built of anger. So you have to check that show out because it really, really is good. I just can't get over the fact that it's Jim from The Office.
Like, where's Pam?
I know, right? She needs to do a cameo. So anyway, so what were some of the ones that you found really intriguing?
Well, most of y'all know I do EFT. I work with the body's energy of emotions and mind and mindset. So the going back to that theory that everything is energy. Einstein's taught us that. Everything is energy. Thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are energy.
My mirror right there.
Your mirror is
our light.
Energy. Everything is energy.
A mask.
Everything is just vibrating at a different state of being. And we, using our limited 5 senses, can perceive a certain frequency, a certain level of frequency, and we perceive it as solid, but there's so much empty space. I've been using those vacuum bags to
Are you using them too?
Yeah, I've had it forever, but you get this massive thing, and then you actually suck all the air out of it, and it's a tiny little thing. You're like, there's so much empty space in things. So I rabbit trail now. Vacuum bags.
I'm just laughing. I have like a whole closet full of them because I've decided I'm doing a pop-up. I want to do a pop-up of resale stuff. Anyway, again, digress.
So going back to the feeling, everything is energy, and that your mind, your thoughts, your emotions vibrate on a certain level. And so for me, the biggest concept, the biggest law is that so you think, so it shall be.
That's mine.
That whole,
No, it's not mine. Keep going. No.
Read it as your law.
I was laughing because no, you're saying it a different way. Please. I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't mean to stop you.
Well, and there's so many things that feed into it. So if you say, okay, I want the law of attraction because I know what I get, I will attract.
Right.
I'm going to focus on that, and that's what I want, and that's who I am, and and it's going to manifest physically into my life. Yes, that's absolutely true to a certain extent, except there's all these other laws that feed into it that you may be superseding, that like your energy level is not really actually vibrating on the level of that.
Compatible with it.
It's not compatible, so you, as much as you focus on and think you want it, it's not going to come to you. So that law of really understanding that who you are at a fundamental energetic level and where your mind sits and spins most of the time, that frequency is what your reality is, what you perceive it. And you can change it in an instant, and then the world will literally look and feel and respond differently to you.
Very well said. I love that.
Thank you.
You did a beautiful job. Okay, so mine is, it's piggybacking on yours, and it's called the law of compensation. So it's basically that everything that happens to you, actually, I think all of these sort of interweave together.
They're a different way of saying everything.
And that you and you alone are responsible for everything that happens in the world, the way your world looks right now. And people would say, oh yeah, but what about? But what about? But what about?
But what about the guy that hit me? What about the guy that sued me? What about the guy that assaulted me? How did I attract that?
Well, okay, so, and a part of this law too is as a result of your past words and deeds. Now, I think the caveat there is, I think sometimes we come in with these different mile markers for growth to learn. And those
like a soul contract to
right.
go through an experience.
Right. And I think the work that we do up until that point can be, oh my goodness, you have this car wreck that leaves you in a wheelchair. Or if you've done all of this work and you've learned to rely on other people and the connectedness or whatever it is your soul seeks to learn from the result of that accident, if you've done the work up until that point, maybe you just get in, get in a wreck and you're fine. Exactly. That's the word I was thinking. Yes, exactly. And so I think that we can, so funny, the word I'm hearing is mitigate.
Mitigate.
That's not my word, so there's somebody, the impact. So, but if you really take a moment to really hear that and understand that every thought and every word creates what you see. I don't know about you, and it could be that my brain is such a rabbit, a little jackrabbit. It is, I can tune into my thoughts for a while, and then I kind of lose them. Then the old program starts to run again. Mm-hmm. I can tune into my words. Like, for example, Ashley from SETI, she used to be, often says, you don't work, you play. Let's play at this, let's play at that. And I love that word play, that word switch. Mm-hmm. But to really understand that if I'm constantly saying, oh my gosh, do you know what happened to me today? As opposed to, you know what I did today? Or you know who spoke with me today? Or
instead of happen like a victim, what you created.
Exactly. So, and I think that the law of compensation, I mean, we could probably spend 3 shows on that because I think that there's so many different layers. Okay, what else do you have?
Well, one of the big ones is the law of oneness, the law of divine oneness, that we're all connected. We were talking about the butterfly effect, but we're all connected. You cannot separate. We have this feeling like I'm alone, I'm my identity, I'm not physically with someone, I'm lonely, I'm alone. It's just, on a metaphysical level, it's just not possible. You are so connected to the source of everything. You and that and the space in between it is all alive. It's all consciousness, and that what you do matters. Like everything you are, everything you do matters, and that you can create. You can create through beauty. You can create through fear. You can create whatever you want, but it's all connected, and you cannot be alone.
Sure do feel alone sometimes, though.
Well, and I think that's why we come here to be humans, to have that experience. Like, what would it feel like to not know I'm divine source and I'm going to jump into a little body and have all these thoughts about survival and fear and I must have and I must get to be okay and to be loved and it's like this huge fantasy game that we think we totally buy into and we totally love it here. So that theory of divine oneness You cannot be separated. You are here. You exist. You can never not exist.
Oh, I love that theory.
Yeah, and Bashar talks about that, but it's one of his theories. You are here and you exist. End of story. You cannot not exist. Energy may change form, but you can never not exist, and you matter. You are a part of this, and you are integral to the whole of it. So wherever you are on your journey, it's okay. It's all contributing to the wholeness of it.
I have 2 things to say.
Doesn't that feel relief?
It does. My children, that was so fake, by the way. My children, I was telling Jack about that, and he said, but what about the people that are so bad that they get obliterated? I'm like, pin in that one, I don't know. I have to tell you from the other side. I have no idea. And I heard something, and I love this. Or I read something, and it said, you are part of the whole and whole of the part. Meaning, so if we are all one, then, and we act in that collective, when we are one, when we're away from that, we are the whole. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's like a riddle. My brain has to untie some of these things and tie the knot. But that's cool.
Well, and so that concept that you are whole, you are one, you are complete means that there's no out there to look for. But we come into the human brain and we need food to survive. You need air, you need love and companionship. And so we put all these conditions of experience to whether or not we feel safe and happy and loved and joyful. But on a different level, if you knew that you were connected and that you're here to have this amazing human experience and that you're love and that really you can create as you were created, you can create, for me, it just shifts the whole experience into something pretty friggin' magical.
But how long can you sustain that space of knowing that, of really being in that place?
I call it ping-ponging. I'm in, I'm out. I'm in, I'm out. But I'm in longer. And when I get out and down and off track, I feel it, totally feel it, feel lost. And then that's why I have friends, that's why I have this show, that's why I listen to this stuff to kind of go, oh yeah, that's this crap that I'm going through is an opportunity. It's contrast, it's dynamic. What do I want? What do I want to create with it? And so it's not a feeling of victim anymore.
I agree. And I love what my guide said when they said, you have no idea how much you love. I know I said this last show too, but it's like, you have no idea how much you guys love that constriction. You just love it because that's where the real growth is. That's the hard stuff is where the good stuff is.
And we were talking about that bad guy. He is also an expression of, whoever, is also an expression of divine source looking through that particular lens and that life that they've lived up to that point. And that it's you. When you are looking at someone, you are looking at you. So I mean, everyone around the world is just a different expression of source. Every animal, every plant, every idea is a different expression, and there's so much variety here, but none of it's wrong or bad. But what we do with it in human terms and the human judgment and suffering, that makes it feel bad. On the metaphysical level, none of it's bad. We assign all the value that we attribute to something.
I get that, but I know that recently I called somebody out on something, and it was tough, and I got really angry about it. And there's that part of me that says, "Oh, I shouldn't be angry." And I think, no, I can be angry. That is an outward expression, and it is. So I think we have to carry it into that too. That I think looking enlightened or being one, it doesn't mean that we're all sitting there in, pose going, how can we manifest this? It's not. Sometimes it's like, fucking A, man. I mean, it is. Sometimes I think it's okay to express those things and to get angry and to get your, Kali going, your bitch warrior going. And every now and then things need to be burned off. And so, I don't know if that, whatever, but all right.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that there's also that law of polarity that for everything on this continuum in this 3D world, there's the light and the dark, the short and the tall, and that's how we have to experience it to know that it exists and to know where we want to put ourselves in relationship to it. So there has to be all of this ends of the continuum for this human experience thing to work. So what I'm saying is I don't fight against it. It's just another expression of it.
That leads me to my next law, the law of resistance. That you resist is drawn to you and will perpetuate influence in your life. And I think that is so true. And resistance is typically born out of fear, because we do not like to feel fear. And I keep going back. If you guys go to Netflix or Amazon Prime and watch the show Defending Your Life, I love that movie. It's old, but it's really, really good, with Meryl Streep. And in it, they said the biggest thing is fear, is overcoming your fear. Because when you realize, again, that you are a perpetual being, that you're this being that never ends, then what do you have to be afraid of? Really, there's no room for fear. And we do so many things, and I don't mean to get preachy about this, because I feel fear a lot, and sometimes I feel anger, and I realize it's born out of fear. And I think that it's the fear that we resist. It's like, okay, now I'm in fear, and I'm going to resist that because I really don't want to go there, because all of these different things can happen, and my mind starts to create all of these different scenarios, right? So anyway, they say a lot of times that just by
what you resist persists.
What you resist persists, and if you keep, and it will keep coming back to you until you conquer it. So I don't know if I remember that. Oh my goodness, in my 20s. I remember thinking, didn't I just go through this? Didn't I go through something like that? Is there a pattern here? And it like Annie's up. Every time it gets a little bit louder, a little bit harder, a little bit bigger, until they're screaming at you saying, wake up, you need to master this one. And yeah, I mean, I used to have this fear that my children and my husband would leave and go somewhere in the car and not come back. Like something would happen to them. And that one I was having a hard time getting through. And it's like they just kind of went, dude, let's take that from her. And that fear is gone. I mean, it just kind of.
But what did you do to get over that fear?
I asked my guides. I'm like, you guys have to help me with this, because I can't go through this. And it is every single time. I also didn't want to. And see, then you have the fear of creating it because you're fearing it. And it just is a horrible little cycle. So anyway, so the law of resistance, and that's what you were just talking about. So
what you resist persists. So I know with my EFT work, we literally walk into the resistance. You walk into that feeling that you get.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, go down that line, and you literally embrace it. Instead of fighting it and want it to go away, you literally walk into it, and you see what it's there to show you, what it's there to teach you. There's usually some profound lesson or some healing or something that you're like, oh, well, that's not even happening. It's not that bad, and moving through it. So
it's like the monster under the bed who ends up being your buddy.
Yeah,
if you take time to look at it, you realize that it's not exactly what you think. And don't you think, I mean, we've often talked about this, about kind of what you go through with your son. It's, had you been told you were going to go through this, we would resist. Like if I was told, okay, this is going to happen when you turn this certain age, and I'd be like, I don't want to go through it. But then life happens, and we just go through it one day at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah,
and we do.
I think that's the overwhelm feeling when you look too far down the road and you try to take all of it in. You're like, I can't survive that. It feels overwhelming. You feel, fight or flight, freeze.
But we also do that with good things. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, you'll be so successful. Oh no, it'll make too many changes in my life, and I don't want to do it, because it's just such an incremental thing. I think we can say that on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So best thing is just to kind of try to stay right here, which is tough too, because we are programmed.
Stay in the present moment. Go ahead.
And something else that I saw somewhere, they said, we are not necessarily programmed in our world to look for the good, to look for what you want, to look for the pleasant. We are programmed to look for what doesn't work, what
the dangers,
the fear, the danger, the not enough. You cannot turn on the TV without hearing some horrible thing, or watching a show that ends in someone getting raped or someone getting murdered or somebody getting, and those are seeds, man. You got to be really careful with what you put in your garden, because if you have this beautiful garden in your house, are you going to go plant a bunch of weeds? No, you're not. You actually go out and tend to your garden and take those weeds out, right? So your brain is the same way, because what you think up here manifests out here every single time, every time. And if I'm constantly, not Pollyanna, but thinking, okay, what's the upside to this? Okay, how can I better this? What is the positive? And you keep moving towards that, you will get there. You'll get to that place of peace. And there, for me, is a place of just peace, just being able just to be and not want more want less, wish that I didn't want as much. I mean, just that constant squirrel.
Yeah, because that ego is never satisfied. Once you get everything you think you want, there's a whole nother level of, but if I had that, then I'd be.
Speaking of, I watched this thing. I thought this was so cool. They were saying that the human brain is so interesting because there are people, story after story of people, husbands and wives that, she helps put him through school, he helps put her through school, they have children, they're trying to make it work. There's all this challenge, and then when they get there, they get divorced.
They're not happy.
Or when, and they're saying like these CEOs or people that become wildly successful, they implode somehow. And we all know stories like that. And they're saying because the brain needs purpose. And so to find that purpose, to figure out how to be peaceful, but still have a reason to wake up, still have something to strive for. Once you're there, you're not really there. That's the cosmic joke. That's
right.
It's it's not the
journey,
destination. Yeah. Exactly. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay,
yes.
Your turn.
The law of divine action. So it's taking inspired action when you feel it. It's not just sitting here manifesting, trying to pull manna from heaven, but it's actually acting on your highest excitement. And I love Bashar. He talks about that a lot. If you were to live your life, hello and good day to you this day of your time.
Very good.
Acting on your highest excitement in every moment will lead you through a journey of highest excitement. It's not the destination or the place. It's just a constant acting on what just excites me and lights me up today. And it's divine action. It's moving yourself into that space.
How? That's a tough one. I mean, I can wake up and think, how do you find what excites you every day? That's tough. Is it that I want a bowl of cereal? 'Cause I don't get that excited about
everybody has something that excites them. Now you can ignore it. Yeah, every day and every minute there's something. It might be go take a nap. It might be read a book. It might be call a friend. But what are my options right now and what feels really good?
Okay, maybe
that.
Maybe that's the thing. It's like, is it excitement? Because when I think of excitement, I think of roller coasters. And I think, whoa,
What lights you up? What gives you that, oh, wouldn't that be fun feeling? That. Follow that.
I think that's hard to find sometimes, though.
I think it's there presenting, and all the time you can pretend it's not there. And there's times I'm in the blues and nothing is interesting to me. I can't light it up. But that's just a state of mind. There's always something.
Your pilot light's burnt out?
Never. It's never. We're here. We're here to have this experience. I don't think it's ever burnt out. And I know you can be in the depths of depression or have a lot of fear and anxiety, and it feels hard to find, but it's always there. There's something in you calling you, lighting you up. And if you will just do that, it'll shift your mindset. It'll shift you out of that feeling, because all that ever exists is this moment.
Oh, that's so true.
All that ever exists. So if you can get yourself into a feeling good place by doing something, playing with a puppy or riding your bike or whatever, that's the moment. That's the moment that you're creating from. And you keep stringing enough of those moments together, that's your life.
That's pretty cool. That's your train, huh?
That's your journey. That's your joyride.
Together.
That's your joyride.
Well, okay, so piggybacking on that one, let's see, we're so in sync. Law of abundance. All you need to create true paradise is already inside us. And that's kind of where the idea came from, that although we are constantly bombarded with the idea of scarcity, but it really is. And I think that Tiff and I were talking about folks that, how do I say this? It is sometimes we look at people and we think, wow, their lives are so incredible. They're traveling the world and they have a big fat bank account and they're beautiful and then you wonder if they're really happy. And it's not up to me to say either way. But then you see somebody, I remember going, we used to go to Guatemala. Mm-hmm. And the person that I'd go stay with, they picked me up at the airport and they said, oh, okay, we need to go. The chauffeur's house, the driver wrecked the car. We have to go to their house. And I just remember, and I was young. I was like 18. And we pulled up and there were all these kids and they were so cute and they're running around. And it was, Guatemala. One of the most beautiful places on this earth. And anyway, and they lived in this lean-to one-room house and I remember they had a pot of beans and one bulb thinking, oh my gosh, and these people that we stayed with had like 6 homes and helicopters and all this stuff, and I thought the despair, how does she not see this? Anyway, I may have talked about this. But everybody looked so happy, and especially in my young mind, I thought, okay, she must be happier because she has all this stuff. But then there was something that came from this. They just were peaceful, and you could just see the love with their kids, and really looking back now from my age, you kind of wonder, wouldn't life be? Isn't that beautiful if you're, you feed your family, and it's about the relationships, and it's simple, simple in a beautiful way. Sort of like going on vacation, and you're laying on the beach, and your whole thing is, you fish, and then you eat, and then you lay on the beach, and you hang out, and you talk to your husband. That's beauty. And so that's where I kind of learned how I can't judge. Does somebody want a bigger house or this or that? We're kind of programmed that way. I just think there's beauty in simplicity.
Well, and there's a whole minimalist movement too of people who are really downsizing the stuff and this, we're in Houston, and there's just acres of storage units of the stuff. People,
that's true.
And we have all of this, and it's fun to have this materialistic toys and goodies, but in the end, is it really happiness? Is it really bring you happiness? Maybe for a moment, but that satisfied, peaceful happiness. So I think it's fun to kind of talk about and keep reminding ourselves to reset, because I know late night you're looking on Facebook and there's this and that, and you kind of like get the wants. Like, I think I need that. I think I must have that thing. And it's so easy to order and accumulate. And I know Carrie's been helping me kind of purge and like get stuff out and get the mindset that you don't need that thing to create this peace, this fun. It's fun to have all that beautiful, shiny, lovely stuff, but that's not where it is.
Right.
It is, air quotes.
You know what I think it is? For me, it is, I would see something, whether it's TV or a person, and I got confused. It's like there was something glowy about them, and whether it's that beautiful pale blue sweater and pair of flowy, pale gray pants, and it's like, oh, that's just, but it wasn't the clothes, it was the person. They were glowy.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. I thought it was the environment.
The image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it is, but there, again, to play devil's advocate, there is a fine line between, I don't know, lack and too much. There is a fine line.
Yeah.
So, because it sure sucks when you can't pay your bills.
Well, and another one is law of vibration, that everything in the universe moves, vibrates, and travels. And everything's in constant movement and constantly carries energy. So I think of things in a wave. If things travel as a wave, or in quantum physics, it can also be a particle. It can be viewed in different, like a photon of light as a particle or as traveling in a wave. So I feel like there's highs and lows to everything. It's the same thing, that polarity, the contrast. There's times of lack, there's times of abundance, there's times of all of it. And there's great life soul lessons to be learned through that journey, that rhythm. But the sun comes up, the sun goes down. It's a rhythm and it's a cycle. And once you kind of get at peace with that rhythm and that cycle, you're not fighting it anymore. It's coming up and it's going down. It's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
If the goal in life is to live a more productive, consider what you need to do to heighten your energy frequency in this law of vibration. And living in that, we did quite a lot of this on the power versus force and Dr. David Hawkins' book, and he talks about the different vibrations of emotions. And when you're in a state of shame, which is a more contracted emotion, you will behave in certain kind of predictable patterns of energy. It produces an outcome, that level of energy. But when you travel to a level of a vibration of anger, you have predictable sort of frequency manifestations from that vibration. You can travel to love, and that has a whole different vibration. And so all of these different emotions have different vibrational states that we all move through, but you can learn from each one and move yourself up and when we say raise your vibe, raise your frequency, there's a science to it, is what I'm trying to say. There's an actual physical science to these different vibrational patterns that we can entrain ourselves to.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was going with that.
No, I know that, I think I've said this before, but I remember for whatever reason, did not like being at Whole Foods one day, and I was in the parking lot and I was on the phone, and I was just I don't know, I was just really grumpy, and this guy yelled at me from the car window. He's like, "Get off your effing phone!" And it was like, and I realized I attracted that. I never get that when I go to Central Market, which is this incredible grocery store. Everybody's always like, "Oh, hi, Gary." I mean, it's because I'm happy to be there. Anyway, so but it is. I was putting that off, and I got it back almost instantly. Yeah.
But I've done that before. I've gone into a store, like kind of in a busy mode, and I kind of run into people I feel in a busy mode, and I called someone or talked to someone on the phone, and I instantly felt better. And then literally, I felt like the music was happier, people were smiling. Literally within 2 minutes, my energy shifted, and then what I witnessed was completely different.
So what do you think that is? I mean, do you think
that's everything we're
perception,
talking about?
Or do you think you really, truly, you bought a pink car, so you saw a pink car? Like you're happy, therefore you see happiness?
It's everything we're talking about. The law of attraction, polarity, relativity, the law of your mind, how it creates your reality. And just experiment with it. I'd be really curious to hear your guys' experiments. I mean, I was walking the dog with my neighbor yesterday, and I've got a big black lab's kind of happy-go-lucky guy, and then she's got one of her little dogs is yappy, and just kind of a little asshole. And every dog that meets us, he gets into a little snip with, and it's like that's the energy this little dog is putting off, and that's how everything responds to him, which confirms his reality. He's just a little snippy, angry dog.
I know people like that.
Yeah, and that's what they're getting back, which kind of reconfirms that that's their belief and that's what's true for them. And if that's your mindset and you don't ever question it, that's how you will totally go through life. So it's interesting to kind of, not that that's wrong or bad, but it's interesting to know that you have so much more control and discernment over how you feel by what you're putting out.
But that takes responsibility.
Yeah.
But that is, because I do believe that these things, once you know them, you cannot unknow them. And so it's sort of like the rule, and then you decide to actually break it. And I think that's the first step. When you find yourself thinking, he's an asshole, it's like, okay, there's that thought, back it up. But you do have to sort of become, what's the word, responsible. What's that word? Responsible for it and your actions. But then, if you give it a little bit of time, it's incredible what comes back at you. And at the end of the day, you're pretty happy. You're a pretty happy little camper because you've put out happy stuff and it comes back. Okay, so there's one I want to talk about, the law of gestation. Speaking of happy stuff. Okay, so it takes time for big things to manifest. Some call it divine timing, some call it coincidence, but every thought, every word and feeling is a seed, and it will germinate into reality at the right time. Because we are the planters and the universe our garden, we will soon realize that it is our unconscious timing that we call it perfect timing. And we knew all along, and we set it up all in advance for ourselves. Wait a minute, I missed something there. Anyway, we later say, oh, it's perfect timing. So it all happens in perfect time. So, and what they're saying, this is true also for the sabotage in our life. By remaining in a state of low vibration, we are sabotaging ourselves. Seems like I missed a chunk in there. But
no, it makes sense.
I love that idea because we want it now. And I
like yelling at the seedling,
grow. 3 days. I've been in the vibration for 3 days. Where is my whatever? Where's my house in France? Anyway, so I love that, and I think it also gives you time. I think number one, being in the 3D
it's linear.
Manifestation. Well, it takes longer because it's sort of like a house. You have to draw up the plans, and then you have to, and then you have to build it, and it takes longer. And but that also gives us time to sort of unwind it if we need to. There's some things I think I want, I really don't want.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Abraham Hicks talks a lot about that's the delicious journey, is the creation and the, ooh, wouldn't it be fun? And we could throw this in the mix and this thing. And then you get the thing that you've created, and then you instantly want another thing. And the excitement of the creation is why we're here, to literally bring something out of nothing from your mind, from a thought, and turn it into a real life physical thing, whether it's a relationship or a car or whatever. That's so exciting. That's so cool.
Yeah, but then after a while, a car's just a car. I kind of tuned out because I was reading, but I think that applies here. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So there are 4 needs for the physical body. It really did just jump ship. Food, sleep. I was just laughing. Food, sleep, sex. Is that a need? I mean, is that really a need?
A biological need.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I assume. Okay. And defense. I don't know.
Safety.
Yeah. There are 3 needs for the mind: information, emotion, and creative expression. I have to be creative. I'm looking at like art and I have no idea where to put it. I mean, look, it just is sitting there. Do you need it in your house?
It's beautiful.
Anyway, so I thought that was interesting.
Maybe we'll raffle off Carrie's art. It's large though. We'd have to get a shipping container to ship it to you.
Want it, but it's so I think that's interesting. All of these are so fantastic, and
I know,
by the
we
way,
could
I
go
want
on
to
and
give props. Let's give props. We got this on Fiction Weekly.
That's where you got yours? I got mine from somewhere else. Well, I got
isn't the
some
50.
some from Bashar, some from Abraham Hicks, some I got from Raymond Halliwell. Wrote a book in early 1900s working with the law, and he's got a lot of principles: law of supply, law of thinking, law of the mind, laws of perpetual transmutations of energy. This one excites me because you can change anything. You can change anything. That really excites me. I no longer feel like a victim. Whatever happens, you can transmute it to your benefit.
Okay, give me an example of that.
All persons have within them the power to change the conditions of their lives. High vibrations consume and transform lower ones, so you can change the energies in your life by understanding these universal laws and applying the principles in a way to the effect that you want to change. So anything, the more general lesson is being positive, proactive, and loving attracts the same into your life, while pessimism, fear, and lethargy will generate more negative experiences.
Okay, we didn't get it from the same place. I have it too, but it's different.
Yeah, so there's different ways of interpreting all of this, and some of it we've been sort of reading, and some of it we're just seeing how it applies in our life. But the law of cause and effect, it's kind of like karma, but we were talking quite a bit about how karma, what you put out, what you get back, and that the feeling of karma being that you come here on this life wheel to live out lessons. And like if I was a victim one life, I would come back and be a perpetrator one life. This kind of law of karma to kind of balance things out. But a lot of people in the New Age world are kind of saying that that's no longer applying.
Well, I think after 2012, I think that there was a big shift that happened. You can stay, but
You're not building this karmic debt anymore.
the buzzer rang and tests are being called in. You know
Pencils
what I mean?
down.
Pencils down. That's exactly right. That's what I think. And I think, yeah.
So I think a lot of people feel it's kind of this is a time to wake up. This is a time to really understand some of these principles and how they apply to your life, and that you're not building karma anymore. You're not going to have to come back and
We can.
redo it to and break this cycle. You can break all these cycles of generational issues. This is a clean slate. Every single moment is a clean slate. That here and now concept of Bashar talks about this quite a bit, how there's just multiverses, and that every single moment is a new reality. And at any moment you can create whatever reality you want with your mind, your emotions, and you shift to a new place, and then you're off on a totally different tangent. If you string those along,
Yep.
that's a totally new reality. So how can anybody ever be bored? This is like crazy town. It's like amusement park on steroids. There's never enough.
No, I know. And that's something, you want to hear a cool story?
Sure.
So yesterday I was watching this thing, and they were talking about dimensions and how people over the last 100 years they've gathered these stories of people popping in and out. and how people have found themselves in weird places, and they're like, what is this? And it looks just like our universe, but it's like this parallel. And so there was this guy, this was like 1954 in Tokyo, and he lands at the airport. He comes in, he has his passport and his visa, and he has a work deal, and so he goes up to immigration, or he's coming through, and he shows his paperwork, and he said, yes, I have this meeting, and he travels, and he has, at the time, he has francs, and he has all these different monetary, he has all the different currencies, and they look at his passport, and they said, we have no idea where this country is. He's like, what are you talking about? He said, I'm from Torad. And they said, there's no such thing. And they showed him the map, and it was like just south of France. And at the time, it was called a different country, which I don't like, Estonia or something. And he said, no, it's Torad, and here's his Toradian passport. And we've been, and he had reservations at a hotel, and this is a true story. He had reservations at a hotel, and he had, they called the place that supposedly he was supposed to meet with, and they said, we have no idea who this guy is. So he said, this is really bizarre. So they take him to a hotel. They stand guard at this hotel. They take all of his paperwork, and they put it in an office. So, they take it from him so he can't leave. They think he's a little bit off, and they lock it up at the airport. The next day, everything's gone. The paperwork's gone, the man's gone, and they believe that he just popped in. Like he somehow...
Oh, wrong place, wrong dimension.
Yeah, but he didn't even know. He couldn't
world.
figure out, he was confused. He like, there was like this little blip, and he just cruised over there. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting? How disorienting, but wouldn't that be interesting? So they're great stories online. If you just go to YouTube, and I'm sure every single one of them are true. Wink, wink. But
well, we watch these movies totally as entertainment. Star Trek, Star Wars, you name it, YouTube,
X-Files.
And I mean, there's just a million of them, and we watch them, Harry Potter, all of that, as total fiction, and that's all woven in there. This mysticism, this time warp travel, this ability to manipulate time and energy, and we just go, oh, that's funny, that's cool. We don't realize what if that's actually the truth? What if that's where we're going, where we can understand these deeper truths about ourselves and awaken some of these abilities?
And that'd be cool.
And literally shift time, space, energy, and matter, because that's what we're made out of. We're made out of energy.
No, that's really, really true. Okay, so the first law that I consciously became aware of, and this was probably, 4 years ago? I had a friend of mine who, series of events, ended up on my couch. And I just remember thinking, like watching her life and watching my life and watching her life and watching my life. And there was this idea that people owed her, and that because of all of these bad things that had happened to her, this is where she is, and people do still owe her. And then it occurred to me, anyway, long and short of it is, that's when I saw that the victim mentality, that it was like her life had led her to this one place through all of, not even really all the things that had happened to her, but to the way she had viewed life. This is a beautiful, stunning person, really smart, very kind, but she just felt that everybody owed her. And that's when I realized that I can shift things, and life is not happening to me. Life is happening for me. And I think that was one of my very first realizations. And it has been life-changing for me to take control. I remember my husband saying, the other shoe drops. It's like, it does? It has to? Really? What if it doesn't? What if, because if we're constantly living in that place of, I will get a call that there's been a car wreck, there's been a heart attack, what a horrible way to live, because that could take 50 years, and I've lived worrying about that, and we've talked about this. I've lived worrying about that for 50 years.
And nothing ever happens. So this morning I was walking my dog, and there's another storm brewing on the Gulf of Mexico, and it doesn't look like it's going to hit Houston, but just a year ago we had a major hurricane hit, and people are still reeling from the effects of that and how hard it was to go through. And so there's this feeling, like Facebook and the feeds, there's this feeling of, oh my gosh, impending doom. So, like I said, the storm's not coming, but this morning when I was walking, and it was so beautiful and peaceful, really quiet out in the early morning, But I felt that feeling of impending doom, and I thought, what's the opposite of that? What if it was impending peace? And I felt like, what if it's just impending peace? I know that's kind of a weird, I'm trying to convey what I'm going on in my head, but it was just this, if everything's peaceful and everything's going to be okay, and that's what's coming, it was a totally different mindset from to like literally in a nanosecond. And then I walked the rest of the walk, just, it's impending peace. It's coming. It was such a beautiful walk.
I love that. I mean, I know I say that all the time, but I really do love that. I view those things, and during that storm she's talking about, when Houston really did get like 52 inches of water, was insane. And I do say this saying, I don't know whatever is behind that, but I just remember looking at the map at one point and thinking, I'd look outside and think, okay, where's the rain everybody's talking about? And where we lived, how the map will drop a pin, it was like all rain all around it, and we were right in the middle. No rain.
And she kept saying, "Where's all this rain?" I'm like, "Honey, look at the video. It's everywhere."
It's there, but I didn't see it.
But they were dry.
But I love not devastating hurricane. I mean, not obviously not that, but I love it when it rains, and I love, because as my son said, I love it when we get a storm, because we have to stay home. We have to, everybody kind of hunkers down, and yeah. So it's interesting. So I want to talk about how you guys interplay with these universal laws and what you have found to be beneficial, and how you get your mind into that place, because reprogramming our mind, our subconscious, which I want to do a show on that, because I found some incredible information, but reprogramming that can be the tricky part, and staying with it, staying with that, pulling out the weeds and checking in, and how do I really feel about it?
It's a daily weeding discipline. It is, of controlling, being responsible, your ability to respond to your world.
Right.
But that's why we're all here, and you get free will, and things come at you, and you get to,
ditch
and dive, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, this was fun. I hope you guys resonated with some of the things we talked about. I know we just skimmed the surface. There's so much here. Yeah. But we really had a lot of fun going through this and kind of seeing how some things I'm resisting, or some things that I'm can't wrap my brain around yet. But it's
I can't with the frequency, with the energy transmutation. That one just over my head. But I'm good. I'll try.
So thank you for being on our Joyride show with us today, joyrideshow.com. You can reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. We are going to be doing some shows with some of you guys that have accepted our offer to kind of work with us. So look for those. Those will be in the works.
That will be fun. All right, guys, you have a great week. Go make it what you want it to be.
Breaking the law.
All right, take care.
Bye.
See ya.